Letters for variables. Your learning target today is I can find the unknown in an equation when the unknown is represented as a variable. And you'll know you're successful when you can find the unknown by using the count by strategy to find what number the letter is representing. So remember from yesterday, a variable is a letter that represents the unknown. And in this problem, the unknown, of course, is v. And v times 6 equals 36. So we need to know what v equals. What would belong there? What would make that multiplication equation correct? Well, let's use the same strategy from yesterday, the count by strategy, to figure out what v equals. So we count by sixes and we stop when we get to, you guessed it, 36. 6. What would come after 6 if I was counting by sixes? 12. What would come after 12? Well, 12 plus 6, that's 18. And then 18 plus 6 is 24. I also know it's 24 because 6 times 4 is 24. So far, we're on the fourth number. And then we have 24 plus 6, so that's 30. And then 30 plus 6, 36. So how many times did we count by sixes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. V equals 6 because 6 times 6 is 36. So let's try some more, and we're also going to be trying this with division. So when I look at this problem, I have a division problem, but do not let that scare you, because guess what? You can always rewrite a division problem into a multiplication problem, right? Because we know that they are related. So if this looks really tricky for you, think of it as a multiplication problem. Oh, 6 times a equals 42. That is the same thing as saying 42 divided by a equals 6, right? So I'm going to do the same thing, but let's just get into the habit of looking at the division problem and seeing how we can do this. And it's just like if we multiplied. I'm going to count by 6 and stop at 42. And yes, we have to figure out what a equals. So let's count by sixes. And I know we just counted by sixes a little bit ago. We started with 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. What comes after 36? Well, 36 plus 6. Oh, 6 plus 6 is 12. So 36 plus 6 is 42. Oh, that's where I stop. And how many times did we count by sixes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a equals 7. Again, that's just like saying 6 times a is 42. And of course, we know a was 7. So either way, that works. Either way, we did the same strategy. We counted by sixes and we stopped at 42. It's exactly the same as when we divide. It just is in a different order, but we can do the same thing. All right, we have another division problem, and oh my goodness, I hope this is not scaring you to see the problem written like this, because if you were watching yesterday, we learned that this is not a big deal. 8 equals 48 divided by p. Remember, that's exactly the same thing as saying 48 divided by p equals 8. It's just our equal sign and our answers are in a different spot. 8 equals is exactly the same as saying equals 8 right at the end. They're exactly the same. So, whoops, we have to find what p would equal. P equals what? And 48 divided by 8. And remember, we are going to solve this exactly the same way as if we were multiplying. We are going to count by 8s, and we're going to stop at what number? 48. Thank you. So let's do that. Let's count by 8s and see where we end up. So we know 8 would come first, 16, and then 16 plus 8. Well, I know that's exactly the same thing as saying 8 times 3, since this is the third number that we need to find. Counting by 8s, 8 times 3, 24. And then 24 plus 8 is 32. 32 plus 8 is 40. And then 40 plus 8 is 48. How many times did we count by 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So P equals 6. So we know 48 divided by 6 would equal 8. Or 8 equals 48 divided by 6. So P equals 6. All right, here is another one that we will do. 3 times 3 equals S. So what does S equal? Well, 3 times 3, we can do the count by strategy, but this time I don't know where to stop because that would be my S. So, and we don't know what S is yet, right? So I can just use any strategy when it's like this. When my unknown is my product, I can just use any strategy I know. Like if I have 3 groups and 3 in each group, I will figure out what S is. So we have 3 with 3 in each group, right? What would be our final answer? S equals 3, 6, 9. So S equals 9 because 3 times 3 equals 9. Good job. All right, I have a couple of problems for you to try to solve on your own. And I will admit one of them is tricky, but think about how you could rewrite the problem to not make it so tricky. So I will give you a hint before you need to pause the video, and I just want you to keep it in mind to maybe help you. So the first one is 7 equals K divided by 8. So with this problem, I did not give you the big number. You need to try to figure that out by yourself. So how would you do that? You could rewrite the problem as a multiplication problem, right? By using the inverse operation. Remember back to when we learned about that. We're also going to learn a little bit more about it tomorrow as a review. And that's when I switch my sign. So switch the division sign to a multiplication sign. Maybe that will help you in figuring out what K would equal. That's my only little hint. And then the next one would be 27 equals H times 3. So please find out what K equals and what H equals. Pause the video and find those variables out, and then resume when you're ready. Okay, so if you looked at solving K first, I hope you were able to figure that out. So when I gave you that little hint earlier about using the inverse operation, by switching the division sign to a multiplication sign, that would be like saying 7 times 8 equals K. Because we know when we divide, K is the big number, right? That's usually our product when we multiply. So that will be our big number, and the K should be at the end, right? So it should be the product. So 7 times 8. So if I did it that way, I could count by 7s or I could count by 8s. And I'm going to count by 7s because I know I've been counting by 8s. And I feel like switching it up and doing 7s. So let's count by 7s. 7, 14, 21, 28. What would come next? 28 plus 7 would be 35. Thank you. And then we have 35 plus 7. Or I know that that's the same as saying 7 times 6, which is 42. And then I have 42 plus 7. And that is 49. And then it is 56. Let's see how many times we counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oop, that's when I stop because that's the 8th number. So K equals 56. So if I were to fill that in, 7 equals 56 divided by 8. Or 7 times 8 equals 56. Now let's figure out what H equals. 27 equals H times 3. So here's a nice easy one where we can just count by threes and stop at 27. So we have 3, 6, 9, 12. What would come after 12? 15, 18. What would come after 18? 21, 24, 27. Oop, that's where I stop. Okay, how many times did I count by threes? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. H equals 9. So you should have gotten K equals 56 and H equals 9. Please keep practicing with variables. By doing that, a nice easy way if you're practicing with flashcards is to try to think about that fact family and maybe even rewrite the problem and leave one of the numbers out. Just like this, if it was 9 times 3 equals 27, maybe take out the 9 and make that a variable. Or take out the 3 and make that a variable. Or you could even take out the 27 and make it a variable. But lots of ways to keep practicing this and becoming familiar with variables. So remember, your learning target today is I can find the unknown in an equation when the unknown is represented as a variable. And you'll know you're successful when you can find the unknown by using the count by strategy to find what number the letter is representing.